right, good morning. You guys are slower than the first service. It's hilarious. Anybody get up earlier than you wanted to? You'll be okay. All right. I'm excited about this morning. What God, man, what an incredible baptism we had last week. Wasn't that just off the charts? Super cool. I mean, literally one of the best ever. Just had a great time. It is so awesome to see the stories that God is writing in the lives of people, isn't it? I just love that. Now I know Richard already mentioned this, but just a little bit of extra is September 3rd. Pastor Jose is going to be with us. He's one of the pastors at New Life in Bakersfield. He's going to be sharing with us some spiritual principles, some leadership principles. Make the time. It will be well worth it. And the cool thing is you're getting all that for free. Beyond that, we're even going to serve you lunch. I mean, it's going to be a cheap lunch, but I mean, we're going to lunch. All right, so but just make that time September 3rd. I know it's a holiday weekend, but just kind of block that out, right? Okay. Now we're still continuing this series, calling it Shoulder to Shoulder, and the whole concept is just simply this: God created you and I to be able to live this life together. Matter of fact, even when God created Adam, He told Adam it's not good to be alone. So we are at our best when we're doing this life together. Our potential to be at our worst is when we're just trying to do something on our own. In fact, nobody does anything significant by themselves. We all have help to make this thing work. So to kind of get this thing going this morning, and what we're talking about is strength for the journey. And that's to be able to be strong enough to face the life that you're facing. And so, anyway, in our modern technology, probably one of the best developments is what they've done with longer lasting batteries, right? Anybody remember when, like, for Christmas you would get like 12 pounds of batteries? Because they just burn up, and so you get like this whole pack of batteries, and within a week, anybody remember that? Remember that, Dan? Yeah, just a whole lot of batteries. Well, batteries last way longer now, and so we all know what it is to have battery problems, and even though the batteries last longer now, we still have battery problems. How many of us have had the experience where you get in the car and you go to start it up and it gives you that? You guys, anybody been there? Oh man! And so that happens, and or maybe you got a flashlight that's going dim, or the one that I hate. You're trying to watch two football games, and it's like, oh, So battery problems. So battery problems. I mean, we can totally relate to the battery idea, and so we get this conversation. But probably what we're most familiar with is our cell phone battery, right? Isn't that true? Now here's what I already know about you guys. We guard our cell phone battery life like it's important, right? So I'm going to kind of use this as just kind of an illustration. So here's the deal. We understand this. So how many of us have been in a conversation, a good conversation, and your battery starts going dead? It's like, oh gosh, and anybody ever your cell phone go dead right in the middle of something? Ah. Matter of fact, we even have apps that will tell us how our battery's doing. It's amazing. I think Robert has one, right? And so, because, well, I mean, we're on our cell phones a lot. So here's the deal. If your cell phone battery is dying, we know how to deal with this. So basically, there's three things, okay? So your cell phone battery is dying from either poor decision making or poor planning. It's like, oh man, I forgot to plug it in, right? It's dying because you just use it way too much. We'll just kind of leave that alone, right? Or you have a lot of stuff going on in the background that's sucking it dry. So here's what you already know. So in order to solve those problems, like so number one, you would just kind of check it out. And so anything running in the background the second your battery die, you would do something about it. You would kind of cancel that out. So start doing that, right? We get that, right? Okay. Or the second thing is that you would keep a charger close by, so just in case there's a drain that you're not planning on, you can kind of recharge your battery, right? So you got stuff in the car. Some of you guys carry stuff in your purse, and I know even now they got like the backup battery for the backup battery, right? And so we get that. And then the other thing is that you just make sure that you begin the day with a full charge. Okay, right? Now, some of you guys have already kind of figured this out. And so in our lives, there's stuff that happens all the time that drains our strength. There's stuff that goes on during your week that is unplanned, stuff you didn't prepare for, stuff that just comes up. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was going to face that. You face stuff every week, maybe even every day, that puts a drain on you personally, right? You still with me? Okay? And so thinking about that just a little bit, so we understand how to take care of that battery. So now, here's the deal. I'm a simple guy. I think most of the drain on our lives is an economy issue. Everybody say economy. Now, I'm not talking about just money. I'm talking about just economy. Basically, economy is just simply this. If you have more going out than is coming in, it's going to drain the life out. In anything. So here's the deal. So when it comes to our physical life, if we have more physically going out than is coming in, we're going to get physically exhausted. When it comes to relationships, if we're putting more into the relationship than we're getting out of the relationship, the relationship is going to exhaust itself, right? Going to have problems. Emotionally, if we're putting more in emotionally than we're getting out emotionally, it's going to take its toll on us. Spiritually, if we're putting more spiritual energy out than we're taking in, we're going to end up going bankrupt, right? Does this make sense? So in our lives, now we understand there's some stuff we can't plan for, and it just drains us all out. But see, it basically gets down to an economy issue. Okay, simple stuff. And so what happens is when we go physically dry or relationally dry, emotionally dry, or spiritually dry, we either become a beggar or become broken. Now, the beggar loses his dignity. The broken people are easily wounded. And I think that kind of uncovers a lot in our own lives. Now here's the deal. So if we have more physically going out than is coming in, fatigue will change your character. Listen to me. This may be one of the most practical things that I've talked about in years. Physically, if we have more going out than is coming in, fatigue changes your character. Can I be even more direct? You ready for this? You get cranky. Yeah. How many of you guys know you get cranky when you're tired? It's like the Snickers commercial, you know? You guys know what I'm talking about? You know, when you're putting more out physically than you're taking in, you're really wore out. I mean, have you noticed people like avoid you? And you want people to ask you what's wrong, but they don't want to, right? Because what happens is when we're giving out more physically than we're taking in, that exhaustion, that fatigue changes our character. We just get cranky. So, and if we have more going out relationally than we're taking in, you still with me? If we got more out relationally than is going in, then we get disappointed. If you're putting a whole bunch into a relationship and you expect to get something out and you're not getting it, isn't it disappointing? I mean, look at the relationships like, really, what the heck? How come I'm the only one? Right? So now that disappointment becomes resentment. And that resentment changes the relationship. Are you guys still with me? Then we start, maybe, I know that you guys probably don't do this, but I've heard of people where we try to like even the scales. Secretly. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, okay, so we're going to play it that way. All righty. Right? Okay, so you guys got what I'm saying. So when we're putting out more relations than we're getting in, then we get resentful because we just don't get it. So then if we got more going out emotionally than we're taking in, when this kind of stuff happens, something on the inside gets broken, and it changes the way that we behave. It's like I trusted once, I've been burned twice, it ain't never going to happen again, right? Because emotionally, we put all this stuff out and we didn't get anything out of it. So we kind of harden our heart and kind of pull back. And spiritually, if we're putting more out spiritually than we're taking in, what happens is we get cold and dry in our spirit. And then we just kind of like go through the motions. And almost becomes fake and phony. Okay, now when we're doing this, here's what's interesting is when we're putting more out, when our economy is out of balance physically, relationally, emotionally, and spiritually, what we do to try to explain ourselves is we will usually try to blame something else, right? Yeah, we're good at blaming, and so that's what happened. You say, well, I don't. But see, people have been blaming people since the dawn of time. Adam and Eve, that was the whole idea. God said, what happened? I don't know. It was them. It wasn't me. So the blame game kind of starts. So what we do is we kind of start throwing stones. Now, and I know that you guys will get offended if I throw rocks, but you guys get it. So for instance, okay, we're just physically exhausted. I'm just wore out. I can't take it anymore. Then we try to blame it. If it wasn't so demanding. So we try to blame Scott. We tried that. It didn't work first time. It's hilarious. The blind guy wants to catch something. So, that's just wrong. Okay, but see, physically, when we try to blame, well, it's my schedule, it's the demands, things are just so hard. I have to blame it on something else. She just snagged it right out of your hand. Relationally, when things aren't going well, we try to blame other people. You know what? Kick her out. It's just. But isn't that funny? When it's not going so well, it's not my fault. I mean, if this other person would put something into the relationship, if they would just try a little bit more. You see, so what we do is we blame. So in matter of fact, when emotionally we're just where I say, you just don't know what I have to go through. You just don't understand. Pay attention, Jasmine. I'm talking to you. But you guys get so we play the blame game. So now, and spiritually, when things aren't going good, and we're spiritually exhausted, then we blame God. See, we play the blame game, and people have done it forever. Now, here's the deal. I want you to get this. When we blame, we surrender to brokenness and frustration. Rather than blaming, how about if we do things a little bit differently? You guys ready for a different approach? Because here's the deal. I know that you're going to have times, you're going to have weeks when you put out way, way more than you're taking in. So I think it's time that we balance our economy. That sound good? How about if we just look at things a little bit different? So here's the deal. What if we guarded our physical energy, our relational energy, our emotional energy, our spiritual energy? What if we guarded that like we guard the battery on our cell phone? What if? See, you guys get this now, huh? I was thinking about this today. I thought I was going to have everybody just turn your phones on and we were going to do one of these. But that's just dumb. We're not going to do that. And if you think that was a great idea, you're actually why I'm not doing that. But seriously, what if for our physical strength, our physical energy, what if for our relationships, what if for our own personal emotions and emotional well-being, what if our spiritual lives, what if we looked at that the same way that we look at the battery on our cell phone? You think that would make a big difference? So think about this just a little bit, right? So number one, we would probably take a look at what's draining us. Because here's the deal. Not everything that you're involved in, not everything that you do, not everything that you allow into your head is necessary. Think about it. Matter of fact, look at this. This is in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 12. Here's what the Apostle Paul told the people in Corinth. Because you say that I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. See, just because there's nothing wrong with it doesn't mean it's a good idea. Does that make sense? So here's the deal. Physically, if you're worn out physically and you're exhausted and you're blaming and making excuses, maybe you should take a look at physically what you're giving yourself to. Is all of that necessary? See, sometimes we do a bunch of extra work for nothing. Relationally, if you're just exhausted relationally, how much work are you putting into stuff that doesn't matter? I got to tell this story, and I know for sure I'm going to get in trouble for this. So, Loretta, I love you like crazy. She just stared me down now. I could feel it. It's really hot right here on this side. When we first got married, I was working a long distance from home, driving ridiculous hours, working a lot of overtime. It was just, so and I moved her away from Mama, so we were by ourselves, and she spent a serious amount of time by herself in a town that she knew nobody in. And so, just to be fair, I mean, I made life pretty hard for her. Not to mention that I was still young. We'll just kind of leave that there. You can add anything you want. It's probably still okay. But one day it was after work, and I was kind of relaxing and just kind of watching some TV. And we had this, remember when TV was like furniture? Big old, I mean, you had a cabinet that was like 3 times the size of the screen, you know. So I'm watching TV, and she feels a little bit neglected, and because I was neglecting her. And so she thought, okay, I'm going to see if he even notices. So she went and hid in the closet. This doesn't end well. It really doesn't. Now, if you go out of here talking about Loretta coming out of the closet, that's wrong. Yes. I'm so dead. Pray for me, would y'all? Okay. But she was in there for, I don't know, like 30 minutes. Clueless. So she opens the closet door and walks into the hall. I'm not going to say it the other way. And she looks at me and glares at me with that wife glare. And she says, "You would have left me in there all day, wouldn't you?" And so what it is that she put so much into the relationship, and she wasn't getting anything out. And she became so frustrated with it. Now, see, here's what I'm saying. So when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to our emotions, when it comes to our spirit, I mean, think about this just a little bit. Are there things going on that are sucking you dry that are really absolutely not necessary? It's just a check on that economy, just some simple stuff. And see, here's what I have learned about me. Some things for me are kryptonite. You guys know? You guys know that? Anybody not know what kryptonite is? Just checking. So now here's the deal. See, so when I'm saying it's kryptonite, some things for us are just dangerous. It's not good for me. And I've talked to men, and they say, "Man, I don't know. Our marriage is in trouble. We're just having this hard time." And I said, "So when are you having a hard time?" He says, "It's only when I drink." It's like, are we seriously having this conversation? See, here's what I'm saying. Just because there's nothing wrong with it doesn't mean it's a good idea for you. We have to look at our economy. What is it costing us? Is it costing us in the areas that we can't afford to go bankrupt in? You see what I'm saying? Those are the big deals. So for me personally, here's me. For me, music is a big deal. Because I get songs stuck in my head. Anybody else get songs stuck in your head? In fact, sometimes there are even songs I hate. You ever find yourself singing a song that's like, "Stop it! Girls just want to have," no, just like, no, you know. But see, now here's what makes this a big deal. Because music for me takes my head places. So I have to be careful the places my head goes. So just because there's nothing wrong with it doesn't mean it's a good idea for me. Does that make sense? So if I guard that like my cell phone, those are the things that suck me dry. And I have to be careful of that. So I kind of check on that, okay? The second thing is, maybe your source is just too far away. Maybe you're too far in between. See, here's what I want you to get. So when spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and physically, here's what I want you to get. When you are in God's presence, God is replenishing you and putting stuff back into. Here's the deal. Sometimes it's too far in between and we go way dry in the middle. Does that make any sense? So that's why we encourage you to take advantage of being connected and serving in ministries. That's why we talk about small groups all the time. You can be connected to other people. That's why we encourage you, hey, come every Sunday, because you guys probably already figured out, if you miss a few Sundays, don't you get like wore out? I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but we have. Is that you become a different person when you don't go to church very much. All right, there's a good time to kind of nudge somebody and say, he's talking to you, yeah. And so here's the deal. When we get too far from the source, we just kind of run out of strength. That's the way that it works. Matter of fact, Jesus even said it this way. There was a multitude of 4,000 people. He said, I can't send them away hungry because they'll never make it back. Huh. You ever have the dead cell phone and you plug it in, you got a short cord? You ever watch that and your phone's dead and you're like talking to someone, you're like, well, there's that. Gotta get drink the coffee. See, so sometimes you're just too far away from this. Here's what I'm saying. For you and I, small groups is a lifeline that keeps us connected. For you and I, sometimes is serving together is what makes it work. People who serve together survive better. Sometimes it's just that showing up on Sunday that kind of gets you through. It keeps the connection close. See, so maybe you just want to look at it this way. Maybe you just want to stay close to the source. And the last thing is you want to check your spirit, man. Do you have strength enough to get you through the week ahead? You know you better than anybody else. You know what drains you. You know what's around you. You know what you're facing. Some of you guys, matter of fact, you're facing some stuff that's just right in front of you saying, you know what, this is really going to be hard. That's what makes today so vitally important. We engineer everything on a Sunday for maximum spiritual exposure. We do this on purpose. The cafe out there so everybody can kind of talk and get together because it's really encouraging and strengthening for you to be around God's people. Our music is outstanding. We have some incredible music. And that's by design because we want you to just be energized in your spirit. We want you to be able to sing these songs after you leave instead of, I don't want you to do that. See, so maximum spiritual exposure. We want to make the talk that I share with you guys so important that it sticks in your head, it sticks in your heart, so you remember it during the week. We want to make our prayer time at the end so powerful that you walk out of here a different person. See, this is important. This gets your battery to full charge. Full charge. Because here's what I know. When you're going to walk out of here, and as soon as you pull out of the parking lot, it's going to start draining. You already know that. And I know that some of us, we're facing some really challenging stuff that is going on. So I want you to understand that sometimes the life that you live takes everything you got. And it matters where you spend your strength. Jesus said it this way. Watch this. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 21, they were asking him about whether we should pay taxes. And here's what Jesus said. He said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God. Here's something I really want you guys to write down. This is huge. Okay? So if we give what belongs to Christ to Caesar, don't be surprised if you become more Roman than Christian. Want me to put that a different way? If you give in your life what belongs to your family, where it belongs to God, if you give it to the world around you, don't be surprised if you end up being more like the world than you end up like Christ. Friends, it's an economy issue. It's only good for so long. It's only good for so much activity. It's only good for so much use. I'm going to have weeks where it's sucking me dry. So I want to make sure that I guard it as best as I can. That makes sense, guys? Is this easy? So let's kind of finish this up. We live in a dark world. Jesus told this story about these 10 girls that were waiting on this one guy. This is the original Bachelor. Yeah. You thought it was a TV show? Jesus told the story early on. Okay? And so he's talking about these 10 girls that are waiting for this guy. He said that they prepared. And so as you're waiting, it got dark. And so it said that 5 of them had plenty of oil in their lamps. Oil lamp. Now, it was more like this, so but I wasn't going to do this because burning the church down on a Sunday is a bad idea. I'm just smart that way. And so 5 of them had plenty of oil. So while they were waiting, the 5 with plenty of oil, they did okay. But 5 of the others, they started out low and ran out. So for us, you don't know what kind of week is in front of you. You have no idea. I don't know what kind of week's in front of me, but I know that there's some weeks that take everything I have. See, some of you guys have experienced incredible loss, and it's hard on you. I know some of you've got family issues going on, and it fills every thought you have. Some of you personally are struggling with things that have gone on in your life where you're just trying to kind of keep your feet on the ground. You can't afford to run out, right? You can't afford it. The cost is too high. See, so that's why the Nicodemus approach doesn't work. Nicodemus came to Jesus by night because he wanted to be unnoticed. And those that are unnoticed are unchanged. You live in a darkened world, right? I'm not trying to paint a picture of there's a devil behind every bush. That's just crazy. But here's what I'm saying. You live in a world that is constantly demanding and demanding and demanding, and the pressure is on you when you work around stuff and you hear stuff and you see stuff. All of these things are trying to dampen your spirit, trying to put out the light. So here's what I'm saying. You need the light to be as bright as it could possibly be. You need as much as you can get so that your light can burn brightly. Because here's what Jesus said. He said, if you walk in the dark, you're more inclined to stumble. And people that stumble get wounded. You still with me? When I was a kid in like the 4th grade, we lived up in an area and there was canals. And so we would like swim in the canals. I know it's not okay now, but it was back then. And so the deal was the pavement was like really, really hot. And so we'd be barefoot. And so when you get to the pavement, you run, right? Now at 9 years old, there's parts of me that are not developed yet. So I'm like hecka clumsy. And so at the beginning of the summer, running down the hot pavement, I stubbed my toe. Anybody ever stub your toe? And it's like, shing, it's like, and you immediately fall on your butt and you look at it. You guys do that, right? And your hoe's like, and I discovered in life for injuries, there's lookers and shakers. If you shake it, no big deal. But if you got to look at it, that's bad. And so I stubbed my toe. It was just like all gnarly on the end, And about every 2 weeks, I'd stub the same toe. Now tell me you guys have never done that, right? And here's the deal. Because it was already wounded, because it was already sensitive, because it was already damaged, it was easy to damage it again and again and again. The temptation was to stop running. but I would have had to stop living. You guys get where I'm going? You're going to have stuff all the time. Happens. That's why it's so important to let us help you shine the light. And I was talking about the Romans a little bit. I don't know if you realize this or not, but Rome dominated the world for over 500 years. And that's a long time. When I talk dominate the world, I mean they were literally in charge of the whole world for 500 years. It's huge. And that's under an emperor. Like one guy was in charge of the whole world. I mean, think about it. What would you do if you were in charge of the whole world? What if you were emperor? What a horrible idea, huh? So with the emperor, I mean, if he didn't like you, he could just and you would go see Jesus. That's all there's to it. So what made the Roman Empire so successful was the two things about their army that worked perfectly. Number one, they had a system of roads where they could be anywhere they wanted to be and nothing flat. And the second thing was the way that their soldiers fought. Shoulder to shoulder. Watch how this works. The lesson for us to learn, in New Life, we have a system that'll get you where you want to be. We call it connecting. People that are connected don't become casualties. Matter of fact, it says this even in the book of Proverbs, or excuse me, Ecclesiastes. It says, it's terrible if you fall, you're alone because there's nobody to help you up. But if you're traveling together, if you're standing shoulder to shoulder, someone is able to reach down and pick you up. See, we can get where we need to be because we have a system called connecting. But the better thing is when we're fighting this battle, none of us ever fights this thing alone, but we stand shoulder to shoulder. And that, my friends, tells us that we become unbeatable. That's for you today. Could I get you to bow your heads and close your eyes for just a moment, please? I just wondered, today you're sitting here and there's been some things going on where you just feel drained. You say, Pastor Dave, I'm done, man. I can't take it. I don't have it to give. I feel like the life that I've been living right now just kind of sucked me dry. And I don't know how to get back on my feet. Well, every head is bowed, everybody's eyes are closed. Somebody look around for just a moment. If that's you, just show me your hand, just real fast. Say, that's me, Pastor. Pray for me. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Could I go a little bit deeper? Physically, relationally, emotionally, spiritually. You're just physically tired. Your relationship, you just feel like it's just worn down to nothing. Emotionally, you feel like you're just numb. Spiritually, you feel like you're just dead and dry. If that describes you today, just simply raise your hand up and say, Pastor Dave, that's me. Thank you. Listen, I'm going to be real plain spoken today. Some of you guys are giving up on relationships, and I'm just telling you, you haven't fed your spirit. You're not strong enough to make that decision yet. If that's you, nobody's looking around. There's a private moment. But if that's describing you today, just show me a hand. Say, Pastor, pray for me in my relationship. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Could y'all stand this morning? Most of what I'm talking about today is personal. See, you, my friends, you have a personal economy. You know you. You know what exhausts you. You know if you're in a relationship that is sucking you dry. You know that. You know emotionally if you just can't take it anymore. You totally get that. Spiritually, you know where things are at. And before you leave today, here's what's important. You need to make sure you're full. That okay? This is really important today. So, as we close the service today, our prayer partners are on either side. You want to get maximum, everybody say maximum spiritual exposure. What if you guarded your life like you guard the battery on your cell phone? Really, what if? I mean, if we were to be honest, and I would ask you, okay, how many of you have had a cell phone go completely dead in the last year? Nobody would raise their hand. Unless you're like electronically not there. Mary. That's so embarrassing, Dan. I'm sorry. But I mean, really, don't we guard it? What if you guarded your life like that? What if you make sure that there's always strength for the journey? Is that a cool idea? You guys got this? And that's just what Jesus is telling us. And look, here's what you know. The minute you drive off at the parking lot, it's going to start draining. There's a lot of stuff that may be going on. You don't need all that stuff. Matter of fact, can I just go here just for a second? Some of you spend a lot of time worrying about things that you need to just simply let go. Just wave at me. Hey, Pastor Dave. Hey. If you have people that love you talking to you about being OCD, if you wrestle with being constantly negative, if you're known to be depressed too much, man, Nick, what are you doing to me? I know you don't know this, Nick, but this is like the important part of the service. He loves the attention. But really. See, there's a phrase, we've talked about it every once in a while. It's called leaving it at the altar. What that means, you take the stuff that you're carrying that you don't need to carry, and symbolically you just drop it right here and you walk out without that on your shoulders. Is that a cool idea? Some of you are worried about people, and you need to just give them to God, let God take care of them. Because if God can't fix them, what in the heck are you doing? Some of you are worried about job situations and finances, this kind of stuff. Let's let God be in charge of this stuff. For once, let's let God be in charge. Okay? Let's see if God would just kind of set this up for you. All right? All right, so you guys ready? Now here's the deal. We're going to pray. The moment I begin to pray, or the moment Richard begins to pray, I want you to step out of your seat, join one of our prayer partners, and say, hey, pray for me. You don't even have to share any details. Just pray for me. That's just going to drop the burden off your shoulders, and you're going to walk out of this place fully charged.